Thank you for coming to my video. This is the process of how I made my feather swords for Pro Hero Hawk. So these are just all the materials that I ended up using at some point during the entire process of making these feather swords. Quick disclaimer, these are the materials that I used. Many of these you could get away with not having or using, or you could even substitute for other brands or products. Alright, so first you're going to create your pattern. Tape several pieces of paper together, matching the length of your foam sheet. I taped on one side, leaving room to sketch. And then you just sketch and erase until you're satisfied with the shape and size. Use your dowel and draw around that. Then you cut it out with scissors and tape the other side down. I unfortunately did not film me drawing and redrawing. Sorry about that. Use the sewing pins to anchor your pattern to the foam. Use the chalk marker to then trace your pattern onto the foam. I unfortunately did not think about how long my foam sheet was when I was making my pattern, and I just happened to luck out that it was the same length. Mark the insides of the two corresponding pieces, meaning the two sides that will be glued together. So 1A and 1B and 2A and 2B. I drew a line where I intended for my dowel to go. On one of these swords, I dug a channel, the other one I did not. Very carefully use the box cutter and cut out your foam pieces. Spread the contact cement on the inside of your piece, making sure that it goes on thin, and work quickly so that it dries as evenly as possible. While the glue dries, take the dowel rod and place it along the guideline drawn earlier. Don't worry if the foam piece is curling a little bit. Don't put it down all at once. Make sure to lower it to the glue little by little and press it down in place once you have it aligned. While the other piece is drying, still working quickly, add your glue to the other piece and make sure you're working on the correct side. You don't want to accidentally put glue on the wrong side and realize it after the fact. While giving piece 2 a second to dry, I decided to double check piece 1 for any patchy spots that could have used more glue. See, right along the edge needed some more. Both pieces were mostly dry now, so time to attach them. I got impatient, so some spots were still slightly wet, but that didn't hurt the adhesion overall, so don't stress over it. Very carefully and very slowly line up your pieces and start lowering them together. Make sure your edges line up as closely as possible. Pinch and press as necessary. The dowel will interfere with pressing down on the handle in, but don't be afraid to keep working at it. You're the big bird here, not the dowel rod. I used these grip clips to keep the narrow sides together because they kept popping apart and wouldn't set. Just keep working around the piece and pressing down, making sure that everything is connecting and secure. You may have to make a second or third pass around, just pressing down on everything. Now, do it all again. For the second one, I dug a channel along that guideline for the dowel, but I dug too deep and this resulted in holes, unfortunately. You can do either method. It really won't make a noticeable difference as most of the sword will be covered in feathers. So I ended up not filming a lot of the next steps, but basically shape the handles with the Dremel and then use your heat gun to heat seal the foam. I ended up having to use quick seal to fill the hole that was on the sword handle. Then I used PlastiDip followed by spray paint to color the grip. You can paint the whole sword if you want to. I will make sure to link some videos in the description that explain how to do all of these steps more in depth. Hot glue down 2 of your turkey feathers, making sure to follow the curve of the sword. Before gluing them down, make sure that you use the wire cutters to clip off the stems. Now you start gluing the smaller feathers down, making sure they go in the direction of the sword and layering them as you go. Start from the top where the turkey feathers are and then just go downward. I used a pair of tweezers to help me rearrange or press down on the feathers above the hot glue. And make sure you check the sides of the swords and cover any of the holes where the foam is peeking through. Now just repeat this process for both of your swords. This is the part of the process I consumed the most amount of coffee, I think. Now for the part of the sword I still don't know the name of. Using the sharper end of the tweezers, jab a hole into the handle of the sword. Choose feathers that are chunkier towards the bottom. If they're too long, just pull the top part off, like so. Dab a little hot glue on the stem of the feather and insert it into the hole at an angle. Hold the feather in place for a few moments while the glue dries. Going to either the left or the right, create another hole and just do this around all four sides of the sword, creating a row with all feathers angled upwards. Now when you go down for the next row, don't put your hole directly below one of the holes from the top row. And as you go down each row, angle the feathers lower and lower until they're horizontally facing. And there you have it. That is the entire process of how I made both swords for Pro Hero Hawks. If you happen to like the video, hit the like button and maybe even subscribe to keep an eye out for any future videos that I post. Thanks for watching.